A lot of my work is like just like a snapshot of something that's happening in the middle. And
Yeah.
so stand guard is like, I don't know, different states of alertness, I
Okay.
guess.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of like where the idea came like from, like just like these snapshots. Like, was it like a moment like throughout your process or during your process where you're like, oh, like my process is kind of like snapshots, like in a timeline in that sense. And that's kind of how I feel like the title came about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like my work's so narrative, at least how I approach it. Um, and yeah, I wanted something that kind of showed that, I guess.
Okay, cool. And for like this show, you're still playing around with the printer, right?
Yes, I am.
The famous printer.
I know.
So I actually wanted to like let the audience know more about when you first started. Like, tell us, like, bring us back to when you first started using the printer and like playing around with like three-dimensional like soft sculptures as well. Like, when did that first start?
The first thing that happened was soft sculptures. And I was living, the first one that I did was a spider in like my spider suit.
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
living in a place that had just a shit ton of spiders. And I was really afraid of them before. And it was kind of like exposure therapy where they were just like in my bed. I would be having dreams about them. I wake up and they'd be on my ceiling. And then I think a lot of my projects start by like, I think something would be funny in a way. And so I'm really curious about how to execute this feeling accurately, but it does usually start with humor. And so I started making a spider suit. And so that's kind of where that originated.
Okay.
Oh no,
What did you do?
spilled my water, but it's fine. And then kind of the same way in terms of the printer, where I just kind of had access to it all of a sudden. I was like, oh, it'd be funny if I scan my body. And then all of these different mediums kind of lend itself to, I guess, the story I'm trying to share.
Okay.
And
is that the same printer behind you right now?
This is Dolly printing.
This is the printer. Wow.
The printer, not the first one I've ever had, but because the resident, I rented it. No, I wish it was like my lucky printer. It's the biggest good luck charm ever.
Oh my goodness. I was gonna say, I didn't know the printer was gonna make their debut in the talk. I feel honored.
I know it did. I strategically, where it's a co-talk actually. But it's been interesting like having it in my apartment, because previously I was going into like Kinko's or FedEx. And that was like, that's a performance in itself.
Yeah.
And it's really nerve-wracking, and whatever I'm doing, I have to stick with it, go back really, and like fix the mistake I made. If I need like a different angle or different lighting or something within the copier. And then I started doing like WeWork had promotions for like a week for like $60. So then I would go to WeWork and then do it for whatever. And then Easy Printers, Iveth from Easy Printers rented me this printer, and I got the residency. So then I was able to rent it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but it's been cool too, because I've like discovered new ways of copying, I guess. Like the sun comes into my room at about 5 and it hit my printer, like, as it would. And I took a copy and I realized I was getting depth of field. So then I'm able to get, now I'm able to get depth of field by using a high powered light. And so there's just different ways that I'm able to use the copier as maybe more of a camera as well.
Yeah, that's cool. That's an interesting way to like see it, I guess, like as a camera, but also like touching on that point you brought up, like how does it feel to like wake up and be like in like next to your printer, like their printer is pretty much like a big part of your like everyday routine. It's always there. So how has that been different than like, having it in FedEx or Kinko's or going to like somewhere to print? Like how has that changed your process?
It's definitely, there's like good and bad. The bad is like it's really messy and whatever, but the good is whenever I'm having the inspiration to make something, it can happen immediately. And I can, if I'm like missing a part or need to change it, I don't have to go back anywhere. And just being able to play around more with like the settings of the printer and stuff like that. And I think like looking at your work after you've made it, and if you're feeling stuck on it, like giving it the room to really be able to look at it and see kind of where you want it to go has been really a good, like very helpful for me in this time period.
That is great. And I feel like, you know, that separation sometimes is needed, but also it's kind of interesting to like push yourself to like be always in that mindset of like, of working or, you know, in that process. And like having it in such close proximity kind of changes maybe your process a little bit to like push yourself to keep going or keep changing. So I feel like I can sense like how it could be good or bad at times.
But I have to say in the same way, like that's also why it's hard, is because I really like to work with new materials, and that's such a big part of my like practice. And so having to stick with one thing has been so hard. It's like I like don't, because you don't have the new excitement of like really changing a material or being like, oh my God, I'm actually good at this or something like that. And so it's really been difficult to like to stick with the printer.
Well, let's talk also about like you've mentioned before, like the artists that have inspired you, and a lot of them worked with different mediums. So like maybe tell the audience about like some of the artists that have inspired you over the years, or like whose techniques have helped you with your own personal process.
Yeah, in terms of like, I mean, I think it all starts with like photography. So Belle Brandt, Cindy Sherman, Anna Mendieta, in terms of like performance, and obviously Cindy Sherman. And then for collage, Frida Orupabo has such amazing work. And you actually showed her to me, and has been such a big inspiration of how I can show things and use photography instead of me for all of the like image myself. And then obviously Matisse with his cutout series have been pretty big, and there's a couple works that are going to be in the show that are just that I'm like very much in dialogue, where I'm fully just copying his composition and his shapes, and then being punny in a way, and kind of mimicking what he did. And so there's the book that he published called Jazz, and also just this great resource called Internet Archive. And so they basically send thousands and thousands of books that are in the library, so you can get most of the things digitally. So I can look up like, you know, Matisse, and then find 10 books, full books that are all have all of his work. Anyway, just note for everyone if you ever need it. And you can totally see of how his time like as a painter helped his shape with all of the cutouts. And I really love that series.
I can totally see like the parallel between that too, and your like not even a little bit of your self sculptures, and not just like your mobile sculptures, you know, of like body parts. I kind of see it in the self sculptures as well. And obviously like Louise Bourgeois as well, like in like the Spider series, like she also played around with different things. So I think I love that you don't stick to one thing and you're so curious. And I think that's such a great part of like learning about like your process. Like you don't put yourself in a box, so it doesn't limit you. So I think that's amazing. I feel like that's kind of the way to go about it, you know. But and then I guess,
and even
go ahead, sorry.
Even looking at like interviews with Louise Bourgeois, and she's just like so performative even when she talks, and she like pushes her work, and I kind of love that aspect of her, because it's like everything's a performance of making the thing.
Yeah, like when I first when we were going through some of like Lucy's archive photographs, was it in upstate New York, or where was it, in Pennsylvania, or like where you took
Mhm.
some of those photos? Do you know?
Yeah, it was in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania. So I remember going through it for her past show, just like to like incorporate in Think Twice, Blink Twice. And I found, oh, it's actually I'm gonna get it. I framed it. But it was this photo. And after the show was done, literally the moment her past show opened, I moved to New York. It was like my last day in LA. So it was bittersweet to, end with such a beautiful show. And then a month later, I get this in the mail. And it's one of, oh, I don't know if you can see it. Let me unblur this. Let me step out of the frame. But anyways, I don't think I can unblur this. Let me see. Share. But anyway, so this is a photo that Lucy sent me, and it really reminds me of like Louise Bourgeois, obviously because of the spider, but also just like Lucy's personality is very much like it. It's very performative too. Like it just really resembled Lucy as a whole. So it's very dear to me. So that was just like a little like nice surprise to get in the mail after like moving to the other side of the country.
I know.
So
So
very,
glad it made it.
yeah,
It was
I'm glad it made it too. You're sneaky about that. But anyways, this is a good segue to talk about this like intersection of photography and also like collage and textile that you incorporate in your work and specifically in this current show that you're having.
I started out doing a lot of photography and doing like a lot of like darkroom, kind of just experimenting with that in school. And love like obviously like Man Ray and Dora Maar, who was like his, muse, mistress, XYZ, and an amazing artist. And she did a lot of collage actually. But it kind of started in the darkroom doing a lot of like stencils and doing like solarization and like doing double layering and just really going all out. And that's kind of where it started. And I love Bill Brandt. He does like weird surrealist photography, where like the environment is really a part of his like photography. There's something very narrative about the relationship between the environment and the subject. And so that kind of came into this in a way because I make all of my images. I'm not like taking them from the internet. Like everything, every image that I have in my show is made because I like sat on the printer essentially. And so I hope there's like knowing that context makes the effort more ridiculous because every single thing in the show is collaged from that. It's not like I duplicated anything or stuff like that. And yeah, I think they all the mediums kind of will flow together. And yeah, kind of being able to make a movie, and a lot of my dolls move, and so it does have to do a lot with storytelling and that
Even the
narrative.
tights, like using tights for your self sculptures is so symbolic, I feel like, as like a viewer or, the audience. It's like, not only is it like pantyhose that like women wear, but like the elasticity of it, like just kind of is, I guess, symbolic of like a woman's body. Like also like just like woman's body changes so much during pregnancy, for example. And it's just like this elastic, like powerful thing, and I think using that for your self sculptures, I think is also symbolic.
Yeah, absolutely. And like using found material. And I wish, using paper was slightly more eco-friendly, but alas, but it's like I keep all my trash. It's like you can't see it, but I have way too much trash because I'm like, I'm gonna make paper afterwards. And sometimes it doesn't happen. But like using the material that's around you and not just like being conscious of when you're throwing it out. And so there's just such great places. Like here, there's one, I'm blanking on the name, but it's all like you. And so I found like lamination stuff that you can like laminate paper there. And so just sourcing my material that way, I would really love to do more, but sometimes it's harder when you're trying to use paper and things that aren't necessarily sustainable.
Right. No,
Um,
that makes sense. I'm sure there's a lot of people who aren't, and I just remember in like your past show too, just like really incorporating even in like the curation of it all, like things that were just laying around that we could use, like kind of like for like I remember the soft sculpture wasn't standing upright, so we used like scraps of like the pantyhose to like hold it up, and I thought that was like a really just very you, and so it wouldn't have been you if we didn't use those like random scraps for the install. So that was
Yeah.
really cool to be a part of too. And then also more let's focus more on this current show you're using. Like you're an engineer now. Tell us more about like the new things that you're using and mechanics that are like a big part of your current show.
So at the beginning of when I applied to this residency, I wanted to use a motor, and then it kind of like faded away into the distance. And I just kind of got into the other. And about 2 weeks ago, I was like, okay, no, I need to have it. And so I have motors now running my dolls, which opens it up in such a different way because, there's something fragile about my dolls. People are always kind of intimidated to touch art, which makes sense. And so they move on their own, and it just kind of opens up a whole new world of possibility. And now I can have one motor that is running 50 dolls or something like that, and they all have the same movement. And so at first I was looking at like, okay, what are the mechanics of like something I can like repurpose, like a fan or thing, but it didn't have enough movement. And then there's this store in Van Nuys that I ended up going to and talking to the people who worked there. They kind of helped me come up with an idea. And then this really old man was a huge mustache. And I started talking to him, and he ended up being the explosives guy for Star Wars.
Crazy.
And he offered to 3D print me a part for one of my motors.
That's so cool.
which I know. And so he blew up the Death Star. I've like honestly seen the movie in passing. I'm not even like that much.
I know, like I haven't seen Star Wars, honestly. Sorry for anyone who loves Star Wars, but I know what the Death Star is, which is funny.
Yeah, I was like, I know it's a big deal, and the guy has a huge mustache, so he asked it. So it's been really, really fun and a little stressful making these motors, but I'm really, really excited. And so I have a couple different like mechanical motors that I'm trying. I have like a computerized one. I have one that's like more of like a switch type of deal. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of where this is going to lead me, because it is just like a whole new door of dolls.
Dolls, of possibilities and dolls. Well, I love that.
I know, it's endless.
I'm excited to like see like it like used more in your shows and in just like your work in general. That's like a very, because I know like you mentioned that some people are obviously like people are more timid to use to touch art, so like this motor could like definitely change the game in that sense as well. So that's cool. I'm excited to see more of that. But yeah, so
I know.
I was gonna say, do you want to ask or does anyone else have any questions? Because I think we have a couple minutes left too. And I don't want to keep talking and asking Lucy questions if anyone else has anything. Also, like Lucy, your show is up till when, by the way?
Okay, the show opens on the 8th. And it is open from 6 to 9, and then it closes on the 29th. And so if you want to come make a reservation online, you can get that on my Instagram. And then I'll meet you there.
Perfect. I wish I could meet you guys there too, but
I know, I wish so too.
a quick flight.
I know, exactly. Yeah, and I have like I have like a lot of, for my last show, like I really only had one framed
Right.
doll. And so now I mostly have that. So I have 10 flat dolls that will hopefully be framed soon. And then 3 or 4 moving ones.
Oh, I wish I could be there. Everyone who's joined the chat better be there if you're based in LA. Okay, great.
My brother will be there.
Amazing. Okay, good. But yeah, if anyone has questions, feel free to ask now or also like drop it in the chat box. If not, Connie, you want to wrap everything up?
Well, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you decide who gets a frame and who gets a motor?
A good question. I think partially like what is like what is mechanically possible for me to do. And I don't know that actually that's a very good question. I think if I could, everything would be in motion and there would be a vignette for every single thing. But then there's just, gravitational issues.
Are the
that-
ones that aren't getting motors, will there be strings or will they just be framed?
No, they're glued onto a board, so they don't move at all.
Strings. We don't pull strings anymore.
There might be one string to
I
pull.
love the strings.
Yeah, for like
I'd like to pull a string.
Me
That's
too.
it.
for nostalgia purposes, there might be a string, but they're going to be motorized for the most part because we're moving into the future of Lucy paper dolls. The future motorized.
The future is motorized.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming, and I hope you come to my opening on the 8th from 6 to 9.
Yeah, and it's open till when, Lucy? The 29th?
Open till the 29th.
All right, mark your calendars.
Okay, thank you guys.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, can I just say, well, thank you so
yeah.
much, Lucy and Gisella, and everyone else for participating and showing up and asking questions. And yes, Lucy's show opens July 8th, opening 6 to 9 at Arts at Blue Roof. And we can give you the address, or you can go to our website if you don't have that already. And we look forward to seeing everyone there.
All right.
Bye,
Okay.
guys. Thank you.